Election Day questions answered. So we are so excited to have Travis Alexander in the studio with us today, the director of all things voting in Richland County. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, first question is, because we ask this every year, poll workers.
Yes.
Do we have enough poll workers now?
So we all our precincts are fully covered for this
Fabulous.
election. We do have one all-come class tomorrow, 10 to 1. So we're telling people that if they're eligible voters, if they're 18, they can come to that class. We can get them signed up, get them registered. You know, just bring the basic stuff that you know to get a job, as far as Social Security, bank information, and some ID, so we can kind of get you applied to be a poll worker, and then we can kind of get you assigned to a location within 10 to 15 miles of your home.
Wonderful.
Yep.
All right, we've been reporting on the numbers of early voting have been absolutely incredible.
Yep.
More than 1 million people here in South Carolina. We're only a state of 5 million people, so those numbers are just extraordinary. How has early voting gone, and what sort of issues have you seen that might give you a foreshadowing of what Election Day will be?
Well, we have a good early voting team at all of 7 locations. So, you know, even the largest, the Brook Church and Brooklyn Baptist, has pushed about 20,000 voters out within this past week. So currently we're at about 100,000 voters, registered voters that have already cast their vote as of today. So we're just pushing for, if people want to come out tomorrow, be patient. It's going to be the last day, so we know you might end up being in line for an hour.
Sure.
But you know, have your ID available. Check your sample ballot at scvotes.gov and be ready to go.
All right, and as we're talking about early voting, let's explain this to the people. So during early voting, every county had different places that you could go to. You can pick where you go on early voting and go to one of those several places. That is not the case for Election Day. On Election Day, you have to show up to your precinct. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's another thing too. We want to make sure that voters go to scvotes.gov, because they're going to be voting at their home precinct.
Yes.
They have to cast their vote there. Now, if they had an address change within the time frame of their first registration, they can fail-safe vote either at that precinct where their name is on the books or at our home office at 2020 Hampton Street. But on Election Day, you can't go to those early voting locations to try to cast your vote there. I think out of all our locations, about 3 or 4 of them are actually precincts, but it's just that community, that precinct around that polling location that people are able to go vote.
Now, I've had my precinct jump places a couple times. We were at Dreer, like the front of Dreer High School, then we got moved to the back of Dreer High School. So if people want to know specifically where they go to vote, there's a very easy way to do that on the website.
Yeah, so on scvotes.gov, you can put your information in, and it'll kind of send you from your home to that location. And we have asked all our partners, polling sites, to let us have the biggest location, if it's the gym or the cafeteria. So I can guarantee you, whatever those locations, if it's a school or a church, we're going to have the biggest location there, because we're expecting 80% type turnout on Election Day. So we're going to have enough equipment to process. If it's 2,000 registered voters, we're going to have enough equipment to process those 2,000 registered voters.
Now, we're talking about voting day, so let's go ahead and talk about whether you do early voting tomorrow or you show up on Tuesday.
Yep.
There are certain things you can and can't wear, and we covered the story. There was an issue in Orangeburg County where somebody tried to wear a hat with a certain campaign on it. You are not allowed to do that. Let's explain the rules of South Carolina voting so the good people at home know what shirts y'all have to leave at home, what buttons, and what hats.
Yeah, so any reference to any candidate that's on their name is on the ballot. So it can be related to any of the presidential candidates or down to the school board candidates. So any of that campaign material not inside that 500-foot radius of that polling location. You may see a candidate or candidate representative that might verbally be outside talking to people in the line. That is allowable by law, as long as they're not, with a bullhorn yelling at somebody, kind of intimidating that person. But if they're nicely asking the person for their vote, that's normally acceptable. But again, no campaign material within inside that 500-foot radius.
And, I like the idea behind this law, because I was reading up on it yesterday, and basically they said they don't want anybody to feel pressured or intimidated when they're literally seconds away from casting their ballot, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Perfect.
So the idea is that you go in there and you can form all your own thoughts and nobody is pressing their ideology on you, correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
All right, since we were talking about the actual voting day, there's some other etiquette that we just went over, but I want to talk with you about it. So we are allowed to have our cell phones on us, but once we go into the actual voting booth, what has to happen with our cell phones?
So once you come into the precincts, no cell phones come inside the precinct. Now you can, if a person has a sample ballot on their phone, say, hey, I got my sample ballot. When they get into the voting booth, they can utilize that electronic device to look at the sample ballot in the voting booth. But it is against law to take a picture of your ballot or try to take a selfie inside that precinct. So we just try to tell our greeters at the door saying, hey, cell phones on silent, cell phones in your pocket once you walk through that precinct door.
All right, one of the things that I have absolutely loved doing, well, back when he was younger, now he's in school and he has to stay in school, but I take my son with me.
Yep.
I always want him to see what the voting process is like, and I think it's important to take our kids so that they know what democracy looks like up close and personal. Let's just double check. Kids are still allowed to come, correct?
Yes,
what are the rules with kids?
17 and below,
Okay.
so you're not 18, not a registered voter. So 17 and below can walk in with their parents or their loved ones inside to vote. At all of our precincts, we will have some future voter stickers there. I don't know how many, it might just be 500 or so, but they will have those available for those future voters that they can get that sticker, and that parent or that loved one can get the I voted sticker.
And what so far with early voting are the biggest things you've seen that are holding up the line? What do we want to know so that we don't do it and hold up that line?
Well, one, making sure what location you need to be in.
Yes.
And then a lot of people want to make sure that if your address has changed, you need to know that kind of up front, because when you come to that line, your address has changed, you have to go to what they call a resolution table, where then that clerk will try to figure out how to do that address change, because if you're in that same precinct, then you can do the address change and vote in that same precinct. But if you move from maybe a Blythewood area to a downtown Columbia, now you have moved precincts, so it's a different type of ballot that you get. You get a fail-safe ballot in those cases. So we want to make sure voters kind of know their voter registration ahead of time, so they kind of know if they're going to be having to wait a little bit to vote that paper ballot.
Okay, fabulous. And I just have to ask this, do you feel prepared? How's Richland County doing? Are y'all ready?
We got enough workers on hand. We actually got our clerks coming to do their pickup, and then our early voting workers are doing a fabulous job getting I think we're probably up to about 37% of our registered voters. So if those numbers increase this Saturday, I guarantee you on next Tuesday, it should be an easy day. Once it becomes 7 o'clock, we'll start closing out those machines and trying to get those results to the news as fast as we can.
Sounds wonderful. Well, I got to tell you, good luck, sir.
Thank you.
I will say a prayer for all of you guys, and it's a big day for us too, but it's an exciting day, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us. Stay